Hey, it's Miss Cole. I haven't done a book video in quite some time, although I have been reading a lot of books lately, and there have been quite a few that I've really liked. But I get to share one with you that I love. This book is called Iron Widow, and I don't have a copy to show you because I'm reading it from the library on the app Libby. So super, super helpful and useful. And I've talked about Libby in my video about how to organize your to-read list using programs like Libby, as well as the social bookmark networking site Goodreads. So this is what the book looks like. Iron Widow is a modern fantasy story. It's not what we typically think of when we think of high fantasy, although there are definitely elements that are very foreign to us. So it's not a paranormal, like not modern paranormal setting where, there are supernatural creatures among us. This is its own setting. The main character is human and the culture that it's coming from is a human culture, but it's based on Chinese folklore, Chinese tradition, and legends, as well as some figures from Chinese history. But the author is very clear to remark in the beginning of the book, this is not like historical fiction. Let's be really clear on that. This is fantasy, but it does pull from not just Chinese legend, but also some important Chinese figures in, their actual history. Much like in the movie Pacific Rim, there are these giant robots that they make because there has been this alien invasion in the past. And so in order to fight off the aliens that have taken some of their territory and to defend the territory that they have and hopefully take back, some more of Earth, they have been able to use spirit metal to build these giant robots that they call chrysalises. I don't know why they don't call them chrysalids, but that's what my mouth wants to say. But it's chrysalises. And they're always piloted by two people, similar to in Pacific Rim, because you need like two brains to like control it. In this case, it's not brain power. It's the life force, the key of the two pilots that combines to give the mecha the energy that it needs to like wake up and, go into battle and do its thing. So obviously, giant robots powered by life forces of the two pilots, already intriguing. Aliens, interesting, intriguing. And then we add on some really multi-layered challenges for our main character, who is female. So misogyny comes into it, class comes into it, wealth, power, all of this, she faces challenges on a number of levels. And navigating that becomes like deciding where the priorities are becomes a challenge in and of itself. And that's part of what makes this book so exciting, is to watch this character develop. Her name is Zetian, and I apologize if I am pronouncing things really miserably wrong because I see it and I'm making a guess. So I'm doing my best, I promise. So she comes from a very poor family, and as a result, her older sister was sold to the military to help pilot one of these. And the catch is each chrysalis needs to have a male pilot and a female pilot. And the female pilot her role is to support the male pilot who is controlling the mecha, the chrysalis. And so her life force is used to support him and give him more power. And the consequence of this is that in many cases, at the end of the battle, when the life force returns to their bodies, there's not enough for her, because so much of her support has been used to allow the chrysalis to operate that she dies in the battle as a result of her power being used by the other pilot. So this main character, her older sister, this has happened to her, and she's really upset by this. And not just this, but just the way that women are used as effectively as currency. Because the other consequence of this is that there's not a lot of women around to be wives and mothers. And so the bride price is really high. And so if you have sons, it's difficult for them to find wives, because the cost of having a wife is that this woman can no longer be sold to the military, where she'll fetch they're offering sacrifice money, essentially. So this then incentivizes families to sell more of their daughters to the military. So it's this really just brutal, ugly cycle. It's just awful. But at the same time, humanity is literally under attack by these aliens. So, there is some this allows them to make justification for it. And it's awkward. And there's that conflict between, the main character is like, wants to tear this down and get rid of this horrible system. But at the same time, that means that innocent people will die because the aliens are taking over, and they'll be just, they'll lose their homes. We haven't found out what's happening when the aliens take over, like, your territory. Like, what happens to those people? I like that she struggles with all of this. She wants revenge, but revenge against this one pilot is not going to be enough because the system's still there, and this is happening to other people. And so I like that it's not, she knows it's not just about her. She realizes it's not just about her and her own personal revenge. It becomes about more than that. And of course, that makes it really cool. It is written in first-person perspective. She's set up to be a really, really interesting, unreliable narrator. Because there's so much, she starts learning about the system and changing and growing as a character. And we grow with her. We learn about the society as she learns more and more about why it operates the way that it does. And so as she begins sort of opening up to possibilities, that is a way of learning that she's not a real reliable narrator. I mean, she's not deliberately holding anything back, but there's stuff that she doesn't know. And so I'm really curious to see how this continues to develop, how she continues to change, because she does some brutal things. I wouldn't go so far as to, it invites you to judge her, but doesn't necessarily cast her actions as necessarily heroic or villainous. They're understandable. You understand why she does what she does. But what I like about this is the narrative doesn't frame it as, her saving the day and doing what's right. It invites you to question that, but doesn't give you any easy answers. I like that kind of thing. And then, of course, there's going to be more. It's listed as Iron Widow #1. So there's a series here. And I think that we're going to continue to see her develop and continue making some of these hard choices, but also be shaped by some of the really vicious things that she's done in the past. And that not enables her, but that gives her, she's like, I've already gone this far. How can I stop now? That sort of context for how a person how somebody who starts out as a good person can become somebody terrible. So I think that's kind of where we're going. We don't know a whole lot about these aliens. I really am hoping we see more of that. There's also reference to the gods, and she knows that something happens. There is some indication that the gods actually do things, but her knowledge of how they operate, sort of beyond the stories that are told to her that she's familiar with, is limited. And so as a result, our knowledge of this system is limited as well. So it's really interesting to think about exactly who the gods are and how they operate, what their objectives are. And, she asks, if they're so powerful, why aren't they helping humans out beyond just like giving us more access to spirit metal and accepting our sacrifices and things like that? So I'm really excited to learn more about the system. I really, really like Ziqian. I like how much she cares. It really, really resonates with me a lot as a teacher. I care about my students, and I'm frustrated when they are stuck in systems that, deplete their agency, do not offer them the support that they need in order to be successful. And when I see them struggling, it hurts because I care. But at the same time, you can't make other people's choices for them. And so there's that struggle there. How much do you help? And, at what point does your help become a way of holding someone back? Are you letting them lean on you too much? And that's something I think every teacher struggles with. And so Ziqian comes from multi-generational trauma. But she's in this situation where she has to make these hard choices, but she's been shaped by her trauma, and that leads to her making some choices which could potentially, I'm just like, no, honey, no, honey, why are you trusting this person and that person? This is not, think this through. But she's not in a place where she can think things through, and it makes sense for her to make mistakes. What she needs is love and support and time to recover from this trauma and therapy. She needs therapy. But that's not available to her. So she's making these mistakes, and you wouldn't say you want to protect her from them and say, no, don't do that. But you understand exactly why she's doing it. And you just want to, she's doing things that are not safe for her. And they're also like bad things. And they're like turning her into maybe a bad person. And you're just like, no, don't be evil. But she's heading that direction. But you can totally see why. It's like, this is what episode 1 should have been in Star Wars. Okay. And here's the thing, like right here. Okay. I know what they're going for. I understand. But this was not super successful for me as a story. Not real keen on that. But Iron Widow, oh my gosh. She's like, I want to hug her. Okay. So I brought my goblin today because she's like a little goblin that just wants to like destroy. But what she needs is hugs. She needs hugs, Sachan. You just need hugs and support from people. You need to be in a non-traumatic situation and get hugs in a non-traumatic situation. And she's just moved from one traumatic situation to another where theoretically, she has more agency than she did, but she's not autonomous. She's not fully in control of herself. I mean, no one ever really is, let's be honest. But she still is being imposed upon by a lot of outside forces. Just maybe not quite as much as before. At any rate, it's a really great book. I hope the rest of the series is as amazing as this one. If you have the opportunity, go to your local library, check out the book, Iron Widow. And if you've already read it, or if you get a chance to read it, you know what I want you to do. You know what I want you to do. Comments! Let me know what you think, or make other book suggestions that you think that I should read. Don't forget to check me out on Goodreads and, see what I'm reading. Let me know what you're reading. Bye for now, everybody. Thanks for watching.